What's up my loves, my name is Paige, this is Pages with Paige, and today we're doing my 500 sub Q&A. Before we dive into the video, don't forget to use my code PAGE10 at the Bookish Bean code to get 10% off your order. Alyssa makes beautiful bookish themed and fandom candles, book sleeves, bookmarks, both magnetic and normal. Oh my god, thank you so much for 500 subs. I'm just absolutely blown away that this community is so amazing and people are just here and commenting and doing all the things, and it just makes my heart so happy that you'll want to be a little part of this weird and fucked up channel, and I greatly appreciate it. So today I'm going to be answering your questions. As part of the giveaway I was running, I asked you to submit a question, and holy lord, we have combined them and have 58 individual questions. So let's dive in. I'm going to be leaving a link to a Google Doc that has all the questions as well as who submitted it in the description box below. The first question is, how do I annotate my books and what am I most annotated? So I don't like talking about it, but I would be remiss. This particular one, yeah. So the entire series is pretty much like this. This is definitely the thickest one. There is no rhyme or reason to this. This is when I first started tabbing. I would just, anything that made me laugh, was a point that was comparable to the movies or anything like that, I would just tab it. And so this is what we ended up with. From there I have got a little bit more sophisticated. So I was buddy reading this with Gavin back in February, and so I was just noting down anything again that made me laugh or something that felt quite poignant. People say that life keeps moving, but they don't mention that it does stop sometimes, just for you and your girl. The world stops spinning and just lets you two lie there. Like, usually it's just pretty awesome quotes that I really enjoy. So this was no rhyme or reason, I just started and whatever tabs I had available I did. So nowadays I try and be a little bit more select. So this was the oldest one that I've read up to my newest, and essentially I'm just having plot points or things that I find interesting, quotes that I find especially powerful, and usually I might make notes in the margin, and then more often than not I'm just trying to match whatever the quote is with the tab to sort of fit in with the theme of the book. I'd run out of orange for this, so I decided to use yellow, Loveless, purple and pink, and then Frankenstein, keeping with the orange. Usually I only tab if I feel especially moved by the book, or I'm doing it as a buddy read. So the next question is, what am I doing my master's in? And I'm doing my master's in teacher librarianship. So essentially I can run lessons in a school library. You can have a librarian, but the teacher would need to stay and run the library lessons, whereas a teacher librarian, the teachers can leave and you can just go in and run the lessons yourselves. The next question is books that you wish were turned into a TV series, and I definitely feel like Nevermore by Jessica Townsend would make a really great TV series, especially with the whole series. I feel like there's enough of individual episodes that would work as well as the overarching arc, and yeah. So the next questions are my favourite food of all time and 3 books I'd want to have with me if stranded on a desert island. So my favourite food is probably chocolate. Like, not very original. I could eat pasta all day every day. I could eat chocolate all day every day. If someone puts chocolate or pasta in front of me, I'm probably going to go with the chocolate. So yeah. The top 3 books I would want to have with me is 1, How to Build a Raft, 2 would be Matilda by Roald Dahl, and 3 would be Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackworth. I feel like I need Matilda for the light and fluffy, whereas Library would be a really good escape book. So that's how I've got those options. The next question was asked by another page, and that's what's your middle name, and mine is Louise. The next question was some books you felt represented in it or heavily connected with a character. So for me, I'm very fortunate. I see myself in a lot of books. At the same time, I don't necessarily feel heavily connected to them. I just recognize, oh, hey, cool, they look like me. Stock standard. Pretty lucky on that front. The strongest representation I felt, though, is When We Collided by Emily Lord. So the main protagonist, Vivi, she has bipolar disorder, and I do not. I have had anxiety and depression. I have not had bipolar. However, the way that it's portrayed in this, I connected to those feelings of coming out of a slump and going on this absolutely like chaotic spree, and needing to be on top of the world and not really taking into consideration how other people are feeling because of my actions. And I just found this when I was in a really low spot, and being able to connect to Vivi and her choices and the way that people responded to them was just really, really moving for me. I do understand that there has been critiques that this is not the best representation, and I would not recommend it for the representation. I merely felt the connection in it, and that's what I appreciate. The next question is, someone approaches you in a bookstore and asks you to pick them out a book right then. What do you pick? 100%, The Library of the Unwritten. So, mostly because I've had success with this. I bought it for Ash on our first date, and he proceeded to read it, love it, recommend it, and pass it on to another friend of his. That friend read it, loved it, and then passed it on to a third person. So I feel like this has a really good ripple effect. I think readers will absolutely adore it, and then those that aren't so bookish will still get a lot of it because there's philosophical underpinnings on it in different afterlives, as well as there's a lot of adventure and plot, as well as character development. So it's an overall really well-rounded book, and I just adore it. The next question is the most precious or valuable or important books I have and why. My most valuable book would probably be Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. This is a first edition in the hardcover. It is signed by Terry Pratchett, and I believe this is authentic. I've done the research, the signature goes through, so it's not just been a stamp on that. And yeah, it's just the first edition that I've ever seen. So I'm pretty confident this is a first edition and it's worth a bit of money. I wouldn't know how much exactly, but for me, it's pretty valuable considering I found it for $4 in an op shop. The one that's probably the most precious to me are the Matilda 30th anniversary special editions. So they've done them so that Matilda is a grown adult, and there's 3 different ones with her being different professions. My favourite is the Chief Executive of the British Library because it just makes my heart swell. I love the colours, with it being the teal and then the end pages being a vibrant magenta. I refuse to read these editions because I just love them so much. And yeah. The next question is, what is in your reading wheelhouse? As in, what particular tropes, themes, details, etc. will always make you pick up a book? For me, if you give me gay witches, I'm there. If someone mentions that there are good steamy scenes, like, I'm interested, especially if they involve poly relationships. That's how I got into the Wicked Villain series by Katie Roberts. And give me a pinch of magic and I'll usually add it to my TBR. The next question is, what genre you haven't read before but want to give a try? Also, I'm curious about how many books you have. So for me, it would probably be history non-fiction. I have read or dipped my toe in every other genre in some way, shape or form. If someone was to give me a book saying this was an accurate description of both sides of history, and told in a really engaging way, maybe I'd try it. But yeah, it would be a very niche book to get me into that. In terms of books that I own, I have about 500 that I have not read on my person. And then I have these shelves which probably have about 600. So I'm looking at the 1,100 to 1,200 mark. But I haven't actually counted, and I don't intend on unless I have to move and set up a whole library, in which case I can keep this consistency and keep a track of it a lot easier. The next question is, what's my favourite retelling? It's so lame. Beastly by Alex Flynn. I adored this book. When I read it, it just hit home with the movie and the book, and I was at a very soft time and I needed this. I'm sure there are so many amazing ones that I haven't read, and some that I have read that just don't hold that favorite retelling for me. Like, I love the Once Upon a Con series by Ashley Poston, but for me they're not really retellings, whereas this definitely has that full retelling of the story. The next question is, what's your favorite childhood book? Obviously, Matilda by Roald Dahl. plain and simple, I rave about this book. Yes, cool. One of my other favourites is Fudgemania by Judy Blume. I just remember the kid in the letterbox on the cover and cackling like a maniac whenever I read it, as well as Molly Ring, Incredibles Book of Hypnotism by Georgia Bing. My sister and I used to read this together, which was really nice, and yeah, I just find it a lot of fun and really nice. Alrighty, so the next question is, who is your favourite character of all time and why? And mine's definitely Miss Honey. Her character taught me a lot about standing strong in the face of adversity, trying to be kind in a world that can be really, really cruel, and that all teachers need to have love and grace and want for their students to succeed in their own individual ways, not just academically. She reminded me a lot of my 6th grade teacher, and the two of them inspired me to become a teacher. Since being a teacher, I realised I don't have the stamina to maintain it as a career, but I still feel a passion to help, just maybe not in the school setting or the library in that capability. The next question is series or standalones, and asked me a difficult one, why don't you? I'm really half and half. I adore having a standalone to break up the story and have a conclusion in one book. So probably standalones. With series, I do love that I get more time to invest in the characters, but I hate having to wait for the next one. So yeah, probably standalones. A few people asked what's my favourite and least favourite trope. I have done a video on 7 of my favourite tropes that I love and 7 tropes that I absolutely hate. Out of those, my favourite trope would probably be the slow burn enemies to lovers. So going from absolutely hating their guts, not a miscommunication, just things have happened, and then slowly working together to overcome obstacles and realize that they were meant to be. My least favourite trope is token diversity, because it is not necessary at all. We can do better. Society is not tokenistic. We are a whole range of different people, so that should be reflected in our stories. The next question I struggled with because it's, who is your comfort character? And I couldn't really think of, like, aside from Matilda and Miss Honey and all those characters that I've grown up with, a recent one that I just feel comfort thinking about them. And then I thought about Brevity from the Library of the Unwritten. So she's a muse and extremely pure, so I can't relate to that at all. But I just feel like if I had a bad day, I could snuggle into her and she'd try her best to make it okay. She'd make tea, put on some soft music, and just be a really wholesome, loving friend. So yeah, Brevity. The next question is, what is your favourite subgenre to read from? And probably fairy tale fantasy, so having some element of a fairy tale in it. Doesn't have to be a full-on retelling like the Ashley Poston series I mentioned earlier. They take it and twist it on its head. It's still a retelling, but it's just done differently, and I love having that like core cozy feeling of the fairy tale, but set in a different fantasy world. Next question is, do you have a reading playlist? And no, sadly I don't. Usually I'm listening to audiobooks while reading along, so I don't usually have music playing in the background. I will put on an ASMR room if I'm reading a physical read without the audiobook. My playlist that I have on my phone is called Fuck My Life, and that's purely for running, and it's a very upbeat, hard-hitting, let's do this sort of music. The next question, are you for or against book to TV movie adaptations? And I'm definitely for it. I think a lot of the time they're not done well because they're trying to capture an audience in a short period of time, so they cut out crucial elements. But books are only one form of media to consume a story, and if we create them into TVs and movies, they're becoming accessible to a wider audience, people that might not necessarily want to read. So I'm more than happy for them to become stories in their own right, in their own way, and be loved by more people, because I just want people to enjoy stories and narratives and being involved in a world that's just different from reality. So if we can adapt them into different mediums and people enjoy it as well, why not? Alright, the next question is, what device do you use to film, and what video editing software or app do I use? So I am filming on my iPhone S6 and it's a piece of shit, and I paid for Premiere Pro to edit it. It is a right pain in the ass because I record the footage on my phone and then have to wait for my phone to upload it to the cloud, where I can then download it from the cloud onto my computer while simultaneously moving it onto my external hard drive because I don't have enough space on my computer to be able to store video files. So then, once it's downloaded and then transferred over, then I can start editing it. I need to find a better system. But that's what I do. iPhone, and then I use the back camera now, unless I'm vlogging, in which case I use the front camera. And I find my friend suggested it and the video quality is a bit better on the back camera and doing natural lighting. And then it's a really basic setup. I have a $16 tripod from Big W that keeps breaking. It's fine, we get through it. The next question is, do you enjoy writing? Have you ever considered yourself being an author? And I briefly held the notion in my head of wanting to be an author, but the more I read, the more I realize that I don't think I could craft something that I would want to read. Like, I don't have the skills to plot the narrative and come up with every minute detail, and I know that it takes authors years and years and years to write books. Like, it's not a one and done process. There are classes and training, and you just work at it. It's not easy. It's not meant to be easy. But for me, it's like, I can't even think of a story that I would feel that I could do justice to present to the world and offer something better. For me, I'd rather be an editor than a writer because I really enjoy reading books and taking on that critique and going through and changing the structure and seeing how the narrative could work better. So that would be something that I would actually be interested in. I did write a story in year 7 and my English teacher encouraged me to get it published, but I never went through with it, and that story hopefully has now disappeared into the world because we don't need to relive that. The next question is, have you ever read any books based out of India or with some good Indian representation? So I haven't read any fiction books based out of India, only non-fiction, and When Dimple Met Rishi by Sanya Menon. So I feel like this is great representation, it's accurate, it's just set in America with Indian characters, and I found that it was absolutely lovely. Not being Indian myself, I don't know if the representation's good, but I believe its own voices, so hopefully I really enjoyed the representation and the family dynamics, and it was a lot of fun. I do have The God of Small Things and Midnight's Children on my TBR as well, so hoping to get to those eventually. I'm not sure, again, if it's good representation, but from my research it seems to be okay, so yeah, I'd definitely like to get to them. The next question is, what is your favourite book series and what's your favourite classic book? So for me, my favourite series at the moment is the Hell of the Library series by A.J. Hackworth, so Library of the Unwritten and Archive of the Forgotten. I just adore these books and devour them so quickly. I love it so much. So yeah, definitely my favourite series at the moment. Although Laini Taylor's I Daughter of Smoke and Bone series is still one of my favourite series of all time. Hello my loves, so my video cut out the last little section, so I'm here, we're ready, and we're going to finish off. So what was asked before was, what was your favourite book series and what was your favourite classic book? I answered the favourite series, and my favourite classic would be Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. So I have 2 editions of this. This is the one I have not read. I believe it does have photos in it from the movie, and yeah, I just really adored this and thought it was a really wholesome classic. I really struggled to think of one, and then when I remembered this was a classic, I was like, yes, because it doesn't even feel like a classic. The next is, what is your comfort book? What book do you constantly go back to when you're feeling a little down? I really don't reread a lot since She Who Must Not Be Named has said the horrible things. I no longer want to reread that particular series, but definitely Matilda is one of my all-time favorite comforts. I go back to it every year and that's totally fine. But I could go with The Tea Dragon Society by Katie O'Neill, but basically any cute fluffy thing when I'm in need of a pick-me-up, I'll just go straight for. And the last question for the YouTube questions is, who's your favorite publisher? And Tor are fucking amazing. They are putting out some glorious shit, and I am thrilled every time I see their name attached to something because I know that it is probably going to be a new favorite. And yeah, so let's dive back to old me with the Twitter questions. The first question is, what book setting would you like to live in? And for me, definitely Jack's Deli in Tweetcube by Emma Lord. So Jack's family own a deli. They make amazing burgers and I could live there and have burgers all day, every day. Why would I not pick this? The next is one of my favorite questions, and that is, name 3 villains I hate the most and explain why I hate them. So for me, this is pretty easy. My probably villains that I hate the most are Dolores Umbridge, Agatha Trunchbull, and Nurse Ratched. And why I hate them is also pretty obvious. They're not meant to be liked. They are meant to be caricatures of everything wrong with the industries that they're in. 2 of them are teachers that fail to educate and treat the children like shit. Nurse Ratched treats mentally ill patients like they're shit. And I just love that I get to hate them with full abandonment. I'm not trying to look for the good that's inside everyone, because they don't. They're not written to have that in them. They are meant to be hated. They are meant to be real to a degree. And they are just, you just hate them. You just love the fact that you can hate them with wholehearted abandonment because they are horrible, horrible people that pick on children and the mentally ill. What? What? As someone that I feel like I am quite empathetic, these characters, I just love that I can rip into them. And because I'm constantly looking for the good in people, it can be tiring looking for so much good in a world. There is so much shit. And these characters, I can just channel all my energy into not liking them because I don't have to. They're not morally grey. They are just villains. The next question is there any story that scared you so much you had trouble sleeping properly for a while? So the books by She Who Must Not Be Named and The Prisoner of Azkaban, I developed nightmares over Voldemort coming out from my wardrobe and or from underneath my bed, to the point where I had to have my wardrobe in perfect alignment. My door had to be fully shut against the wall and I had to have touched it that way, or it had to be fully closed. And after midnight, I could not put my feet on the floor, otherwise I would die. And then Dementors haunted my nightmares. Little did I know at the time that I was dealing with anxiety and depression myself, and so seeing the Dementors and these creatures that really summed up how I was feeling was kind of scary for me. I couldn't articulate it then, and I'm still not good at articulating it now, but that was something that happened. I wasn't 5, I was 12, and this continued on for a long time. Like, moving into the house that I'm in now, it's a 3-doored wardrobe with only 2 doors, so got over that real fast. But yeah, it was something that really did impact on my life for a long period of time. And yeah. Recently, Gaio by Junji Ito fucked me the fuck up. So it has something similar to my phobia, and while I was reading it, I would like see things afterwards, and I would lie in bed and just have these visuals in front of me. And Ash would just be stroking my forehead like this, because that's my off switch. And yeah, so he had to do that for me because I just couldn't stop seeing these things, and it was unnerving. In terms of another story, but in movie format, Black Swan. That threw me into insomnia a few years ago when it came out. That was not a pleasant experience for anyone in my family having to endure me go through that. The next is a much lighter-hearted question, and that is, if you were any type of candy, what would you be? And I struggled with this for a little bit, and then I thought of Milkos. So hear my logic. 1, I'm pasty as fuck. I already look like one. 2, not everyone likes me, but those that do fucking adore me. And 3, they're only 50 cents a pop. So, yeah, I really love Milkos. They're one of my favorites, so I thought it fit. I asked Ash what he thought, and he said sour watermelons, because they're his favorite. And also, my personality is kind of sour, so it works. The next question is, what books would you love to read for the first time anew? And for me, the 5th season. So, with my memory and the speed in which I read books, each time I do a reread, like rereading it new. But with the 5th season, I read it during the reading rush in June or July, and I didn't dedicate the time to enjoy it. I was just trying to get through it. It is not thin, and it's a heavy book in terms of there's so much going on, and it is really so intricate and fascinating. And I just blasted through it, and like I still enjoyed it, but I didn't get as much from it as what I know I can. So I'm definitely going to be rereading this, and this will be like reading it. The next question is, do you like ice cream or cake better? And aside from the series of standalone questions, this is probably the hardest question I've ever been asked in my life. So ice cream cake is superior. It is top tier. This is my number one pinnacle of yes. However, my decision is probably cake, solely because ice cream I can buy at any time. There's no rhyme or reason. It's totally acceptable to have ice cream at any time of day. You can have it for dessert. You can have it for breakfast if you so desire, like whatever. You can have it at any time. It's common. Cake, however, is usually reserved for special moments. I don't just go out and buy a cake like I have, but normally there's like, no, I really want a cake. I really want to just have that sponge cake, and now I want to go buy one. So it's more of a special thing, and feels just a little bit monumentous. So for me, probably cake. The next question is a really lovely question, and that is, what are you most excited for about becoming a teacher librarian? And for me, it's definitely helping those kids foster a love of reading, of literature, of finding new information, finding excitement in the digital and physical world of books, in finding that reading can be so much more than what they think it is, and that they can travel to new places, they can find out new things, they can be involved in the world in a whole new way. And I get to foster that. I get to help people discover that. I get to help people find their niche, their moment, and it's my job. Like, that's amazing. I know not everyone's going to have the same love and appreciation as I do for reading, and that's totally chill. I know every kid has that spark. You see it time and time again as a teacher. You give them something and they realize that there's this whole other thing that they have access to. And it's just waiting for those right moments to hand them the lighter and burn that spark bright. So the next question is, do you cover by books? And if yes, which one? There's also a question that is, show us your most beautiful cover. And for me, I definitely buy covers, buy books based on their covers, for sure. In terms of my prettiest, I really don't know. It would probably be Cersei, but that's at my parents' place. I just adore intricate, beautiful covers that give the story a whole extra push. Like for me, Well Met's a beautiful cover. The Summer Assault, all of these are just so beautiful and gorgeous, and I definitely do cover by them. In terms of my favourite, Cersei would be among them. Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman, and yeah, these are just some little examples I picked out for those. And if I tried to take them and show you all of them, I would absolutely be destroying my shelves. The next is, what is your favourite book that you've read because of BookTube? And that is definitely A Heart and the Body in the World by Deb Coletti. This has honestly peaked as one of my favourite books, and I'm so thankful to BookTube for putting it on my radar. I had to ship it in from America. We do not stock it, and the fact that I took the time and energy to do it because it was so highly promoted on YouTube, I'm just so thankful. It hit me to my core. Next question is, do you prefer to listen to fantasy or contemporary audiobooks? And definitely listening to fantasy. For me, contemporaries are light, fluffy. I don't need to worry about world building or characters or pronunciations usually. So it's just so much easier reading a fantasy, listening to a fantasy book. You have the pronunciation there for you. You can slide into the story. You're not having to focus on building it and constructing it. You just listen to it and absorb it. And I love reading alongside so that I have the physical copy in front of me and I can see what's happening as well. The next question is, who are my favourite authors and what is my favourite book by them? So, roll it up. Deb Coletti with A Heart and the Body in the World, Laini Taylor, Tamora Pierce, AJ Hackworth, Mindy McGuinness, Katie Roberts with Learn My Lesson, and Ashley Herring Blake. I absolutely adore these authors, and it just makes me so happy that I get to expand and then grow on my favorite authors every year with more things that I get to discover, and it's just so nice. Like Chandelika, if I read more by them, I'm sure they'll be a favorite author. Patrick Rothfuss, who else? Sebastian de Castell is really creeping up there. I want to read the Turncoat series or the Greycoat series before I claim him as a favorite author though. Jamie Littler, V.E. Schwab. I have read a few of V.E. Ambitious is definitely my favorite out of those. Brandon Sanderson, just waiting to read Hero of Ages before I make that final decision. Sylvain Novella, I can see that becoming a favorite author as well. Like there are just so many, and it makes me so happy. Next is what is your favorite anthology? And I'm going with Feminists Don't Wear Pink and Other Lies, Amazing Women on What the F Word Means to Them, curated by Scarlett Curtis. I can't remember how I picked this up. I think again it was a Hannah Whitten. And so this has a range of contributions, notably Ivana Lynch, Gemma Arton, Helen Fielding, Jodie Whittaker, Kat Dennings, Keira Knightley, and they're just ones that like sing out to me. And I know this isn't really an anthology, it's a collection of essays, but for me, I'm gonna count it. Mostly I don't read fiction anthologies. I've read it all out, but aside from that, I mostly read essay anthologies instead. The next question is, what is the best book you had to read for school? And that is definitely Bridge to Terabithia. We did a book to movie analysis and my heart still hurts. I have not recovered. And that was probably one of the greatest English units that we did. We've done some shocking books of Mice and Men. Othello, King Lear was shocking. I'm trying to remember any other books, but none of them really stuck out to me aside from Bridge to Terabithia. The next question is, what's your favourite part about BookTube or being a booktuber? And it's definitely interacting with everyone. It just makes me so happy. I know I'm not the fastest to respond to comments and I'm so sorry, but I just love seeing the community grow and being able to interact with anyone. And I think also being able to document my journeys on readathons and things and being actively involved in them just makes me so happy. The next question is, what's your favorite type of side character? And I had to think hard. For me, I think like the silly old wizard man, like Mog in Kings of the Wild, would definitely be a type of character that I like. Doing a side character that's a boss-ass bitch that's not afraid to put the protagonist in their place, also I adore. And like those characters that just support. They're a network, they're friends. It's not, the chosen one isn't a chosen one, it's their friends that are helping them become that person. Like in Library of the Unwritten, the whole gang has to work together to be able to fix the problems. The next is favorite book to movie adaptations. Definitely 10 Things I Hate About You is one of my all-time favorites. Clueless is pretty amazing, and of course Matilda. I love the changes that they made to make it Americanized, when in the book Roald Dahl is like, these bloody Americans, blah, 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 blah. And then the movie's like fully Americanized. It's so good. The next question is, what book color do you have the most of? And for me, probably black. I could arrange my books in a rainbow, but I think I would go slightly insane trying to make that happen. But after that, it would definitely be the blues or the green tones, like the teals and that sort of ones as well. The next question is, have you read any books by Lila James, Penelope Douglas, or Susan Stoker? And no, I haven't read anything by Lila James or Susan Stoker, but I have read Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas and absolutely loved it. Yes, and I really want to read Punk 52 or Punk 57. And yeah, I keep forgetting about it, but that's one that's definitely on my radar. Next question. I messaged Ash being like, what's my hidden talent? Because, I don't know. Being able to listen to an audiobook on 3.5 times speed while reading along. According to Ash, he thinks it's dancing and the way that I make my body move. Honestly, I thought I look horrendous when I'm dancing. It's probably the most unflattering thing, but if it works for him, I'm glad. For me, honestly, I think we'd be making a damn fine cheese toastie. Like, all my work colleagues know that I make a damn fine toasty because they get to smell it every day that I'm there. But yeah, I don't think many other people know that you give me a sandwich press and some cheese and some bread and some butter and tomato and chef's kiss. The next question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Bayron, and Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. So these two are two of my most anticipated releases of the year, and if I don't read them before the end of the year, I will cry. Plain and simple. I am so damn excited that I got the Our Crate exclusive edition of Deadly Education. Then got really nervous because I think it was April didn't like it, and then Cara absolutely loved it. So now I'm like, dude, Jesus, I hope I did not just spend money on a book that I'm not gonna like. But if I don't like it, I'll send it to Cara and she will appreciate this and I will just have the plain copy. And then Cinderella is Dead. I have been anticipating this since I heard about it. And so excited. With Gemina, I recently got the Audible Daily Deal for it on audiobook, so now I'm happy to dive in, and if I finish this, then I only have to read Obsidio next year, and that puts me one step closer to finishing a series for next year. The next question is, what was the first book you ever read? And I got no idea. I think I've been reading independently since I was about 3. Obviously, it was nothing major, like those Golden Circle books. I read the Tooth Fairy one like so many times. But the one that I remember, I was at preschool and there was a blue monster in it, and I think he was really sweet but misunderstood. And I have no idea what it is. Like, no idea. It was nighttime, but he'd only come out at the day. I don't know. But I remember a blue monster, he was fuzzy, and it was a really cute book, and I remember just going, I want to hold the monster and give him a hug. The next question is, what is the longest book you've ever read, and how long did it take you to read? So, according to Goodreads, my all-in-one edition of Death Note is 2,400 pages, and it took me 8 days to read. Or, next it would be Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin, and it took me 4 days. I don't trust Goodreads. I'm pretty confident I did not read this in 4 days. I know that I read it for Newts in 2019, maybe. So Porra, potentially, but that would be reading like 200 pages a day. But apparently, according to Goodreads, 4 days. And then 8 days for this one. I do remember that this did not take me 8 days. I just had work, so I didn't read it for like 3 days. The next question was, if you could only read one book for the rest of your life, what would it be? And honestly, I don't think I could just read one book. Maybe Matilda, so I could read it yearly and that be it. But the idea of not being able to consume and read to excess makes me so sad. Like, I could not think of having to reread a book, and one that I would enjoy constantly rereading throughout the year so I could still read, or doing it once a year. Like, I love my yearly reread of Matilda, but I also love it because I consume other things around it. The next question is popular books you don't like. Never Know by Jay Kristoff, Mary Poppins by P.L. Travers, and The Princess Bride by William Goldman. So I don't know how popular this actually is, but it's a recent did not like. So yeah, these are my 3 popular books that I don't like. My least favorite book of all time is Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, but that's not actually that popular anymore. Thank fuck. The next question is a book that you'd keep if it's the apocalypse. And like, honestly, don't make me choose all of them. I would keep all of them because I would not survive with just one book. We just established this fact. If I did have to choose, I'd probably go for an apocalypse survival book. Like, I'm gonna need some help, so might as well go for that. The next is, what was the book that got you into reading? And again, I can't really remember. I've always been a fan of Lemony Snicket, Roald Dahl. I've always been a reader, and yeah, the Judy Blume books, and also the Max Remy Super Spy series. I remember reading that in year 5 or year 6 and loving that, and I think that really got me into reading as well. What got me back into reading, I think, was the John Marsden series, The Tomorrow When the War Began one, because yeah, I wasn't really reading throughout high school, and then I picked that up again. The next question is, out of all the books that you've read when you were younger, has your opinion changed? And for which book has your opinion changed the most? So, I've tried not to reread them because I know they won't live up to scratch, unless I really adore them, like Matilda. I really, really want to reread Molly Moon, and I'm so scared to do it. But to be fair, The Twits by Roald Dahl is not great, and I'll accept that. Otherwise, I'm really not too sure. I'm just, yeah. The next question is, have you ever met your favourite author? And no, not yet. I do have an author that's in Australia that I absolutely adore, and she is a family friend of my family's friends, but I have not met her. She did kindly sign my books, and I'm so thankful for it. But yeah, no, I haven't actually met a favourite author. I've met a few different people, but not my top tier favourite. So, I swear to God, if like Mindy McGuinness or Tamora Pierce came back to Australia, I would lose my freaking nuggets. Alrighty, the next question is, what book has affected you the most? And A Heart in the Body and the World, My Dark Vanessa, Female of the Species, and Matilda have all majorly impacted on me. So, the first three are because my heart got destroyed and I'm still not okay. And it's like a 10-ton gallon straight to my heart. And with Matilda, it taught me that I can be myself, I can love what I want to love, and that life can be so amazing if I let myself just enjoy it. And we have more power than we give ourselves credit for. The next question is, what are the series you're hoping to finish this year? I've already finished 9 series this year, so I'm pretty happy with that, or like gotten up to date. I would love to finish The Top, which will be the Ark of the Scythe series, but I don't really have any other ones. This one I definitely do need to get to, so yeah. Oh my god, my TV for next month is already growing and I'm so scared. The next one is, what is your favourite read of 2020 so far? And that is A Heart in the Body and the World by Deb Coletti, with no hesitation. I know I'm raging currently about Library of the Unwritten, but Heart just, fuck, it hits in a different way. I love all the philosophy behind Library. I love how much My Dark Vanessa is going to sit with me, but A Heart in the Body and the World just has so many messages, so eloquently done, and just captivates me from page 1. And the final question, thank you so much if you've made it all this way, is what is the favourite read of the month so far? If we go with last month, there is a tie between Archived of the Forgotten, Crier's Wall, and Priory of the Orange Tree. So for these, Archive just slightly sits up, just that little bit higher. I love these two, like, but yeah, they just make me so happy, and I'm so glad I read them. And for this month, my favourite read so far is Hollowpox, the 3rd book in the Nevermore series by Jessica Townsend, and holy shit, I adore this. Yes, I love everything about this. And it makes me so happy just seeing, like, the story come to life. It's so good. I love it so much. So yeah. Holy shit, if you've made it this far, you fucking need to go get a cookie and a cup of tea, because, like, kudos to you. Thank you. Thank you so much for 500 subscribers. I've had an absolute blast being on the community for the past 9 months, 8-9 months, and I'm just blown away at everyone's support, their generosity with their time, the fact that, you know, you leave comments and talk to me on Twitter, and just everything. This community has its flaws, there's no denying it, but fuck, we've made a good little niche, and I'm so thankful to everyone that's a part of this community. And yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop gushing now. Let me know in the comments, what is one of those questions that I would love to hear the answer to? Your favorite type of side character, because I really struggled on that, so I'd like to know different kinds. Let's go with that. And yeah, if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more of this mess, feel free to subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video. Bye!